The immediate context of chapter 50 is dealing with God's judgment on the nation of Israel. We know this to be a psalm about the second coming of Jesus Christ. The first advent was not, or advent means arrival, coming. The first advent of Jesus Christ was not an advent of judgment, but the second advent will be. And he says this in verse 4, that he may judge his people. Well, you say, well, I'm a believer in Jesus. I'm one of his people. We have to understand the difference between when God's speaking about Israel and when God's speaking about the church. Notice here he continues to talk about, in verse 5, he explains who these people are. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. That is speaking of the national people of Israel who made a covenant under the Old Covenant, the Old Testament, in the book of Deuteronomy, in the book of Exodus, chapter 24 specifically, where Moses gave the law to the people, and he said, are you going, basically paraphrasing, are you going to follow this law? Are you going to accept this? And they said, yes, we will accept it. And what was the covenant? God says, I will take you into that land if you obey, if you make sacrifices to me, if you honor the Sabbath, all these different things that God worked this covenant with Israel. And he said, if you do these things, I'll bless you. We read of the covenant of the tithe that's made to Israel, where he says that if you give your tithe, then I will pour so many blessings on you, you won't be able to receive it. Now, if I put my 10% in the offering plate this Sunday, that I cannot claim that covenant, because it was not made with me. In fact, there are people who tithe and give 10% or more that struggle financially. Well, because that covenant is not for the church, it's for Israel. So all these covenants God made with Israel, and he says that I'm coming back to judge those people because they've turned away from me.